if you are an architect and an engineer or a mechanical or electrical engineering consultant and you want to work on your own hub, what does it look like to share files using this bridge?
All right, let's do that. Hello and welcome to another episode of Design Under Influence. Today I have my two very nice guests who are experts in Revit and BIM, and they do this day in, day out. And today we're going to talk about bridging, why it's so interesting. And then it's a new technology. Everybody's scared. That's what Megan's been telling me. Everybody's running scared. Nobody kind of between IT departments and the leadership and everybody else is not really understanding what that is and how much value it can bring. So today we're going to do show and tell. Liz, Megan, say hi and tell us, set this up a little bit. Why is this such a big deal?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, I'm playing the role of the architect in this example.
Okay,
And
so we got a role play.
Yes, and I will be the
Role play.
engineer and or any other consultant. To set us up historically, the way Autodesk has had teams like this work together on a project is the architect would invite the project team to work on a project hosted in their Autodesk Construction Cloud Hub. Now, what that meant is that everyone could use multiple methods for linking files, not necessarily live linking, but you could link to each other's folders to published models in order to coordinate and eliminate the need to send files back and forth, which was the old way of working, where you were working on a Revit model on your server, it was saved there. Architect sent the model over to use for coordination in your background, and you would save it to your server and link it in. That involved transferring the files through email or Dropbox or OneDrive or whatever method you had chosen, downloading the file, a really manual file transfer workflow. Then it was a next step where Autodesk now allowed teams to collaborate all in one project. But the problems that started to arise were now the permission, if you are an engineer or electrical, mechanical, or plumbing consultant, you now have your data hosted on someone else's hub. And what that means is they control permissions to your data. So in order for you or anyone on your team to access your model, the architect had to grant you and everyone on your team permission via email and permission settings in order to be able to access and work on your project. This was on deadline day, a little bit embarrassing when you were requesting last minute reinforcements on your team to come work on the project to get it out the door. You had to quickly ask the architect, can you please add modeler A, B, and C so that we can finish according to the deadline? I think a lot of the workflows around hosting all of the Revit files in this one project hub, I don't think everyone really liked that. And I think they were potentially very vocal about it, and Autodesk listened. So in 2023, they came out with this thing called bridging. And the really awesome thing about it is that you can now work on your own hub in your own project, and you can send files back and forth. Where prior to this on the BIM 360 side, so this does only work on the Autodesk construction document side of their platform. In BIM 360, you actually could not share a file that was in a project to another project. There was no direct method for that. You had to download it and then upload it into this other project. So essentially, the bridge is really going back and solving the original problem where when we were working on servers and sending files back and forth and manually moving that data around, it really is the future and a way of eliminating all of that time and all of that data transfer in order to collaborate in teams.
A little bit of a layman question, if you don't mind, before we do this quick share. Typically, in a situation like this, versioning becomes a problem, right? Because you're sending files back and forth. Is that
Yeah.
like a real issue you see your clients kind of battle through?
What's awesome is with the move to Autodesk Construction Cloud, versions are now automatically there. So you work on a cloud-hosted Revit file. When you publish, it creates a version out on the web-based interface where you can view these files, and that's where all of the coordination and collaboration happens. So when essentially you receive a file through this bridge, in this new method, if you keep placing the files on top of each other, you end up getting version 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's really nice is then you can also go back and use the version compare tool, and you can see what has changed between those versions. So it's extremely powerful. And the old server-based method, this was unheard of. Like, you couldn't do you couldn't do version compare. You couldn't really track versions other than with dates. You just change the name of the model.
Gotcha. All right, let's do the show.
All
Without
right.
further ado, role play.
Okay, so I'll set us up here. Typically, the architect is the one that is going to initiate this process. So I'm going to have Liz share her screen, and we're going to show you what it looks like to just establish a bridge. And the first step is that you need to have one person from each team who has project administrative privileges for the projects that you want to bridge. So I'll have Liz share her screen and show you what this looks like in the ACC Docs environment.
Okay, so this is the web version of ACC Docs that most people are working in versus desktop connector. It can get confusing sometimes. So here we have a little project we set up called Golden Gate Demo R25. I'm the architect, so I'm going to go ahead and initiate bridging. There's bridge on the side here. So you see I am not bridged with anybody currently. So I will bridge a new project. I can choose here an option to create bridges by sending an email to project administrator, or if it's a project I'm currently the project administrator for. But in this case, I'm going to send it to the structural engineer, Megan. So I am not her admin. So I will type her address in here. And I will invite Megan. She's not in my hub currently. That's why she didn't show up in any kind of list. And then I would say a nice message. Hello, I would like to bridge Golden Gate with you. Thanks. And then we're going to go ahead and send that over. So now it's pending. Now, Megan, I guess you need to show what it looks like for you.
Yes, so I just received an email. Okay, so Liz has just sent me the invite, and this is what it looks like on my side. So it'll say action required. She is inviting me to bridge with her. And essentially at this point, you can decide that you want to or you don't want to. So anyone can send you a bridge invite if they're a project admin, and you have full control over whether you accept it or not. And it will expire in 7 days. So choose it if you want within the first 7 days. So I'm going to choose to bridge my project. Now it is going to give me the option to choose which project I'm going to bridge with, since she in her in her note and also in the title of the bridge invitation, it is telling me which project she'd like to bridge. So I actually have a project set up on my side that mirrors that project, so the Golden Gate demo, but I put a little S in front of mine for structural. She's got an A in front of hers, and we changed the project number just so that it was clear whose was who. And now I'm just going to say bridge projects. And now the bridge has been established. This does not mean that any files or any data has been transferred, nor does it mean that any files or data has to be transferred. This is essentially, we have just made an agreement that we would like the option to send a file without having to go to the old-fashioned way and download it and upload it to get it from one project to another. So now, usually when a project starts, the architect would send over a file for the engineer to start working with as a background. So we'll go back to Liz here, and she has a model created, and I'm just going to quickly show you my setup here. I actually did create a structural model. It's my working file or example of, and then I've created a folder, which you could name anything, but essentially I'm just going to use this as the place that I'm going to start putting the models that she sends me. So we'll go back to Liz, and she's going to demonstrate now what it looks like to send a file through the bridge. And this will be we'll start with the first method, which is just sending a file one time.
So here is the original project, Golden Gate Demo 25 on the architectural side. And we're going to show the method of sending just one time. So I can choose the file, and I can use these dots or those dots, but I'll use these dots and I'll share. And we're going to pick another project. And we can pick bridge projects here. And you can enter a title. So depending on the project's requirements and how you all want to organize it, you could title it with a date. You can title it with just the name. You could put whatever is the best description. So we can say, call this like first bridge file architect. And a message if you want to. And then I'm going to click share. And it's going to go to another project here. See? So while I'm still here, I just wanted to show that on the bridging side, I now have an active bridge with Megan right there. And then you can see in the outgoing what I've just sent to her. And you can control it, as you said, Megan, in a really granular way. So you can see the status, you can see who it's been, which project has been shared to, by whom, and the date and time. So if other people in your project team are sharing projects, then you can see what's going on at this point.
And I'll also just point out real quick, and Liz, I'll let you share your screen. There was a status that says in review, which means I have not accepted this file yet. I get the option to accept it and place it where I want to on my side, and we'll show that in a second. And then it's also specifying that we are not syncing it automatically, which is the other option that we'll show next.
So just to take it back, here's the status in review, and automatic syncing is not enabled. And it was
Awesome.
shared through a manual share. So
thank you, Liz. Great. So now back on the engineering side here. So I actually will get an email that says that Liz has sent me a file through the bridge, and any project administrator on this project would get that email. Now, you don't need the email to actually accept the file. It is going to land here, but you're going to get an email that alerts you that this is here. And if you have multiple project admins on your project, whoever gets here first to accept it gets to accept it. So I'm going to come in here to the incoming, and I now get to review, and it does expire, so it's not just going to sit here forever. So I'm going to review this file, which means that I am just looking at the information that came through with it that we already looked at on Liz's side. And I can reject it if I want, or I can add it to my project. And then I get to specifically decide which folder this file is going to go into. So I'm going to select the folder that I created just for this purpose, and I'm going to say add to project. Okay, now this takes a couple minutes, and we can see back in the files when it's done processing here. Actually, that came through pretty quickly, but sometimes it can take a couple minutes. Now, the really awesome part about this is historically when you send a cloud hosted collaborative file, if you download it or move it between projects, it loses its ability to be seen through Revit, which means that it becomes just a regular uploaded or basic Revit file on Autodesk Docs or BIM 360. The unique thing about these files that come through the bridge is that they, what I like to say, maintain their cloud hostiness. They are not full cloud hosted files. And what I mean by that is if I go through Revit and I go to open a file up on the ACC Docs platform, I won't even be able to see that project because it is not a collaborative project that I myself can work on. So this folder is empty because it is not a full-blown cloud-hosted model that I can edit, which that is great because it's coming from Liz, and she doesn't want me to edit her model, nor does this maintain any connection back to her central file. So that's an important point to note. But the great thing about it is now I'm in my project here, and I'm just going to go into a 3D view. Beautiful stick model here of my structure. And I am going to link this file. And actually, because this project was already set up, I'm actually just going to do a reload from. to pop up on my wrong screen, of course. And now, if you're familiar with linking cloud to cloud on Autodesk Docs or on the cloud platform, you'll know that when you go to link a file, it does automatically take you to the project that your current file is hosted in, because that is actually the only project that you can link models from in the way that you're linking them cloud to cloud. So now I'm going to come into this consultant folder, and even though we couldn't see this file when we opened Revit and we tried to open it as a true cloud hosted file, we do see it as a file that we can link. Now this saves a ton of time. Historically, if you wanted to set this same scenario up, the architect Liz would have sent me a model in an email or a link that was downloadable. I would have saved it on my server or even saved it up on ACC Docs. But in order to link it like I just did, I would have to open it in Revit and initiate collaboration or save it as a cloud hosted file in order to be able to link it cloud to cloud. So we just saved all of those steps. And what's really great is now this bridge has been established. Come the next milestone, which we'll go back to and we'll watch what happens when Liz sends another model. She can send another one, and if I choose this same folder, the version is just going to go to number 2. And I'm going to show you the powerful part of that, which comes from model comparison within those 2 files. So you can see exactly what has changed in her model. So we'll go back to her side now and have her send one more model through, and then we'll do the reverse. And I'll do that in the background while she's showing us, and I will send a model over to her for her to link in. Liz, I'll let you take it from here.
I'm going to delete a door from the model and also change a grid line to be called something else. So here's my architectural model that I'm working with. And like I said, I'll change a few things in it so that Megan will see some differences perhaps. So we can just call this kitchen instead. So we can do a model compare between them. So now I'm gonna sync and then I'm gonna publish. That's key because the models on ACC have to be the published version and not the active working version, which is really important as well because everyone who's worked with live linking models understands how dangerous that can be if you send people models that are still in, let's say, production. So here's our hub. Here's our model, our project. And now I've made changes that I want to share with Megan. So I'm going to go ahead and publish those. And you know why
we might have to refresh your screen.
Yeah, I think so. Good. Let's take that and publish and publish. So we'll give that a second and I'll jump back to here and this will update as well. So we'll go from version 2 to version 3 and it's thinking right now. So give it a second and can show also that on the bridge side that this has been accepted and is in use. So then I can always check that. And I have no incoming models. So Megan has sent nothing back to me. See how so it's working on version 3 right now. And I believe that I can go ahead and share it anyway, because it will wait until it's done and say update to ARC model. And if you wanted to do your date, for example, it's really down to how your project works. And bridge projects, same one on bridge 2. And then take a look. Share. And it's still sitting there thinking, so it will give her the most recent version once that version is done publishing on my hub. So then Megan should have gotten a new model.
Yes, I do. I already have an incoming model. And just for those that don't know, with the spinny circle on the model, it actually means that it's just the graphics we're processing. So the model exists. So that's why it came through so quickly, Liz. And so I'm going to go and accept this file. And I'm going to put it in the same folder that I placed the one previous. Okay, and I'm going to go to my files. And it's probably going to show up here pretty quickly. We'll give it a couple minutes. And while we're waiting for that, I didn't actually send Liz a model yet because I wanted to demonstrate the other way that you can share a model, which is it's a set it and forget it way, where if you are only publishing your model to the cloud when you want to share it, this way actually eliminates the need to send through the model each time. So this is maybe for teams that want to collaborate and share models once a week or even more often than that. And what you're going to do is you actually do have to have your model in a folder. So I moved the model that I'm working on into this folder, and you can move models around up here and it doesn't break any of the functionality in Revit. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to share this whole folder with another project. And now I get these options here where I can automatically sync all of the updates in that folder based on this bridge that I am going, or this file that I'm going to send through the bridge. So it will continuously look for new versions or even new files that land in that folder, and it will send them through and basically create the mirrored folder on Liz's side. So I'm going to title this, so structural model, and then I'm going to call this one auto sync folder. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then my target project again is going to be the Golden Gate demo. And now set it and forget it. I'm going to say share. Okay. And now while I was doing that, let's just check here. So now the latest model has come over from Liz. And now what's really great is I can go in here once it's done processing the graphics, and I'm going to be able to do the version compare. So we will have to wait until that's done in order to do the comparison. So let's go back to Liz's screen and see what it looks like on her side to receive the folder. And then what I'm going to do is actually make a change in the structural model and publish, and we're going to see that file is going to automatically send through this bridge into her folder once it has been published.
All right. I will share the correct screen. So I just also wanted to point out that in my email, I did get confirmation that Megan accepted my files that I sent over. So now I have this new action required where she's sharing with me. So it's going to ask me the same question. Do you want to add this to your project, reject or accept? And I'm going to accept it. And where do I want to put it? And I'm going to put it inside of my consultant models because I'm going to get a bunch of other consultants coming and doing the same thing. So I'll add that to the project. All right, so this is all set up. And if I go back to files, I will see inside my consultant model, this is going to take a minute, I guess, to, yep, there it came right there. And it's working on uploading everything, but you'll also notice there's a little indicator that shows which direction things are being shared. And this is all coming to me. Nothing is being shared out from there to anybody else. Then if I go to my model here and I look at 3D, of course, I just have all the fun architectural stuff. And what I can do is that I can now reload the link. I assume it's still in here because we used our manage links here. And we have all images. Let's see, Revit. Let's add in the architect or the structural model to my, of course, it's on the other page. Here we go. And as Megan showed before, it does default to that project that I'm working in. So I only need to now find the model, and there it is. Open that up. And I want to point out that it can get confusing to some. That's not the desktop connector link. So it's really great to just stick with where Revit defaults you to location-wise. Otherwise, you can end up in a bad spot or not link the models correctly. So Revit does know what it's doing. All right, so now I have the structural model in here. Great. So then Megan wanted to make a new version for me to link in and to
Yes.
show how that would work.
Here I am back in my structural model, and I'm just going to make a quick change. Let's say I am just going to, even though I would never do this, let's see. I'm going to remove a column.
Do something wild.
I know I'm going to do something wild. This is going to be a really long span there, but I'm going to delete this column. Whew. And then one thing I am going to do is I'm going to check my publish settings. This is something that you should always be keeping an eye on. And this sets which sheets are actually going to be visible up on that viewer when we're on the web-based interface. So this was already preset, but if I had added any sheets or I wanted any additional views to be visible up on there, I would come in here and change that. So I do actually want to make sure that I have a 3D view selected here so that I can do a comparison in 3D. So I'm going to do the 3D views in the model, and this one that I'm in right now is this one. That one looks pretty nice. So I'm going to hit save and close now. That's fine. It also is attached to your print sets, so that's why that error popped up if that was a default in your printer settings. And now once I change anything, I've got to sync my model because this is pushing all of the things that I just did up to the cloud. When you hit the publish button, it is not looking for changes that you've made in your local file. It's looking for whatever is up in the cloud-based model. So anyone who has synced changes up there, and it will push that data out as a new version to the web-based interface. So now that I have synced, I'm going to come back out here to my original screen. And Liz just saw the model here probably is going to look like it has been published. So I need to refresh this here. Actually, it didn't look like that. So hers, I think, had a checkbox. Sometimes this screen needs to be refreshed to realize that there's more changes that need to be published. And I'm just going to say publish here. And now back up in my folder, where we also see those indicators. So these let me know that this model is being synced to somewhere else. And I can also see that in my bridge in the outgoing section. And in this, I actually do have the ability to cancel this bridge. So if I come in here, I can delete the bridge right from here. I can see what has been shared. I can see all of the activity here regarding this bridge, which is really helpful, right? You have full control over who's doing what and where files are going and anything that is coming in and out of your project. So here we're going to go back here. I'm going to look at the structural model. Okay, so now version 3 is here. And then we're going to switch back to Liz. And in her folder, she will actually receive version 3 without me sending it. And just as a little test, while we're looking at her screen, I'm going to drop in another file and we will watch that also populate over into her project because it is something that was in this folder that is now synced over to her project.
Okay. So I'll take over now. I'm still in my project here on ACC, and I've gone to where I've bridged Megan's structural model folder, and you can see it's processing the graphics here. And now I have version 2, because for me, it's the second version I've gotten. For her, it's her third version. So the versioning will be separate from each other here. And you can see it's working. And if I did want to find out what the changes are, I don't think you can do version compare while it's still processing. But this is the most current version, and it can always use the same functionality of making a different version current if you need to, or downloading source files. So this is going to run, and once that's completed, then I can also go here and I can update my links here. So it will be reloaded. And it's operation in progress. Everything is thinking now. So a little bit of waiting. I can also take a quick look at my bridge and see that I do have the structural model here as a manual share, yes, and an automated share here as well. And then you can check your outgoing here, and I could also delete these outgoing connections if I needed to. Is there something else we want to show on this side, Megan?
I think that's great. We are just going to have to pause because I want to put a PDF in that folder and it's taking a second to print.
Okay.
Alex, are we missing anything or is anything unclear?
I've been following you. Like, it's just competence, man. I'm just enjoying this. This is so cool. You guys are just so fast and efficient, and you know exactly where to click, where to go, what to grab. The beautiful thing is, people who are watching this on the other side, they can pause, rewind, get back on track. So don't worry about it. I think you run. I don't think we need to worry about covering everything. I think it's just the concepts and the fact that it works really well. Yeah.
No, the idea would be that as you set up a project team in the start and you all sit down and you say, okay, how often would we like to update and sync to each other? Is it once a week? Is it every second week? Is it just project milestones? So that eliminates the live linking, and it also eliminates too much work or too much confusion back and forth between the project teams. But yeah, if you said every second Thursday. So now we can see that Megan's file has come through as version 2, and she also included in her folder a PDF. So it also holds PDFs, Word documents, Excel, other types of files you can share here, and it will version if she updates it to another version. And then because it's still loading, we can't really look at this, but there is the compare function once it's done loading. If you want to see what that looks like, which is super powerful, let's look at this one that's already done. Click on the version, click on 2 versions you want to compare, and then you choose the view or sheet that you want to compare. And then you would hit compare and it would work on that for you and give you a list or visual representation of what has changed. Megan?
Wonderful. Yeah, so I think that gets us almost to the end of the demonstration that we wanted to show you all. And the other way that you can actually harness this tool is if you're using it internally, or if you are a project administrator between 2 projects, maybe on different hubs, that you want to share files in between. So all of these features work. You just skip the email and accept step if you are actually a project administrator for both of the projects that you want to send files back and forth to.
That's fantastic. You girls, ladies, I am just so impressed. Like, I haven't really said anything, and that's okay. That's good. But it's very impressive how you manipulate the tool and how much you got done in a very short period of time. What would have taken somebody else a lot longer to figure out using the older methods. And those of you who are interested to potentially work with Aurora BIM, give them a call. Go on the website, and Liz and Megan will be happy to talk to you. They're very busy, but I'm sure you'll find a window for you, our dear viewers and listeners. And then we are Arc IT. We help with IT. We help make sure all the technology runs smoothly so you can run your architecture engineering company smoothly and just focus on what you do, not how the whole tech stuff works. Anyway, I want to thank you all both for an amazing show today, and we'll see you all next time.